Hello, and thank you for joining us on the Nikki Maduro Show, where we talk about all the news and nonsense that happens all around California, the nation, and the world. I'm Nikki Maduro. She is Kim McAllister. Click that thumbs up button, show your support, make sure you are subscribed. And we got a doozy of a poll, Kim McAllister. We really, really do. And I'm not quite sure how to feel about this because, as I've said ad nauseum on the show, I don't believe polls. Ever since Trump beat Hillary Clinton, I think polls are a bunch of BS. Okay, yeah. I just do. I think that, yes, they serve some purpose, but I think that especially, and let me just say this, especially with how polarizing things have become, I wouldn't put it past people to lie. You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't put it past people to just say whatever nonsense they want to because they want to be trolls. I mean, if anything, the last several years has produced, it's more idiots. Like, that'll just say things just to get under your skin or just to, get some sort of reaction from you. And I think whether we're talking about the situation in Gaza, whether we're talking about, how you feel about junk fees, whatever issue is important to you, I think you have to keep, kind of like a little caveat that people are morons and might be skewing the results. I've never been polled on something like, how I feel about a certain issue. I mean,
I have.
In person or on your phone?
On my phone.
Okay, so how does it look? Because I feel like maybe I would have gotten one, but I just always think that they're spam.
I've had phone calls, and then I've had texts come through.
Okay.
Then I've had emails.
And you answer them all?
No. I have, if I answer, they always ask you, are you a member of the media? And I guess technically now I could say no.
No, you are.
But back in my KGO days, I was real member of the media, right? So I kind of always say yes. Yes, I am. And they don't say, want
okay,
you.
Thank you. Never mind. Bye.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They don't want you educated on all the issues or anything. Like, why does it? That even pisses me off. Like, that in and of itself makes the poll BS because I am a voter. I have a perspective and an information at my fingertips that I'm interested in, a wide array of information and perspectives because of my job. Yeah. And yet you don't want to hear from me in your poll. Well, I call your poll BS. I say that it is nonsense and I don't want to take it anyway. So don't even ask. But this poll kind of surprised me. So it was released this week and it had to do with Roe v. Wade. And it found that 17% of registered voters in 6 swing states believe Biden has, quote, a lot of responsibility or some responsibility for ending the constitutional right to abortion.
How is that?
In what world? And now, again, these are in the 6 swing states. Now, I'm not saying our votes don't matter, but let's go. You know what I mean? Like, let's keep this in perspective.
Seriously?
So even though Trump has said repeatedly, out of his mouth, that he's responsible for the overturning of Roe v. Wade because of who he put on the Supreme Court.
He'll say, I'm proud of my part in that.
Exactly. He says it. There is still 17%, almost 20% of registered voters in 6 swing states that are blaming Biden. Now, here's a couple of thoughts on that. One, they blame Biden for everything. Okay. But you would think with an issue like Roe v. Wade, I just feel like people's positions are so not, I know there's gray areas for some people, you know what I mean? Like, I support abortion rights to a certain extent. I'm totally left on that. I just don't think that there should be any government intrusion in the decision at all. That's it. Right. Okay. But I get that there's some people that are kind of a little more in the gray area, but there's no gray area in whether Biden or Trump was responsible for the overturning of Roe. I don't understand. I don't understand. Is it just I blame Biden? If you ask me who's at fault and it sounds negative, I'm just going to blame him. Now, 55% of respondents in those 6 swing states said Trump has some responsibility or a lot of responsibility. So there is hope there. But I feel like this is a prime example of what's wrong with politics nowadays and the echo chamber that is created. Now, yes, it's 17%. Doesn't seem like a lot, until you realize how close a presidential election can be.
It seems like way more than it should be. Did they give a
Right.
quote from people like why they're blaming President Biden for something
Uh,
that clearly he had zero to do with?
I don't know. Okay, so no. Well, I mean, they didn't give. Okay. So Christina Reynolds is the senior vice president of communications at Emily's List. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and she wasn't worried about it. She reasons it's a small number, and
Right.
other findings about abortion access are generally in line with what abortion rights groups have heard from pro-choice voters.
Right.
She says the idea that some percentage blames Biden, it may be that that's a percentage that's just going to blame Biden for anything. But
Mm.
is it a good thing? So along her line of thinking, it's like, well, is that 17% like happy that Biden did it or
But he
not happy?
didn't.
Because
He didn't do it.
exactly. But if you
Like
know,
it's factually incorrect.
but if you're, so if you're a pro-Trumper, let's be in the mind of a pro-Trumper,
Right.
most likely pro-life, right?
Right.
Anti-abortion rights. So then you would know who did it, right?
Right.
But if you were pro-Biden, you would, not saying you're going to be absolutely pro-choice, but
Right.
just you would know not to blame Biden. So who
Right.
the hell are these people? And that's why I go to they're just idiots, right? Like it's just
Is it
what world are you
17% of
living in?
them are idiots? Like, is that what it is?
But it doesn't
Because
make sense any other way.
President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris have gone on they sent Kamala Harris on a tour,
Yeah,
on a
exactly.
like talk about abortion tour. Like, I don't know how much more clear it can be.
Right.
Trump has stood up and said, "I'm proud that I did it."
Well, here's another thing to kind of go back to voting and what we talked about yesterday regarding young voters and who they blame for the situation in Gaza and if that's going to flip Biden voters over to Trump voters.
Yeah.
The 17% of respondents consisted largely of young voters who,
Oh,
by the
wow.
way, did not vote in the last election.
Maybe they're just really uneducated at this time.
I don't know how you can be uneducated about an issue like Roe v. Wade. I
Right.
don't. Now I can understand. I mean, I can't really, but I will go down the road of a conversation with somebody who's, I don't have a position on Roe v. Wade. It has nothing to do with me. Maybe I'm a man. Most likely, I'm a man. If she wants it, doesn't want it, whatever. Like middle of the road, do what you want, whatever. I could say that not being the issue that's going to drive you to the polls. I don't know how anyone with, a uterus doesn't care about this issue. And in either way, pro-choice or pro-life. I just don't know how you're so uneducated that you would actually blame the wrong person for the overturning of a right. Like, that's insane to me.
I would argue that not that it doesn't affect all women, right? The
Right.
reproductive health choices, but when you're a young woman, you don't have your life set yet, right?
Right.
Like if you or
True.
I got pregnant today, we have our family, we have our kids, we
Of
have our
course.
husband, we have a place to live, like there's some stability going on. So
Right.
whatever choice we would make, it's not like, oh my God, this is the rest of my life. Like,
Yeah.
if you're 19, 20, 21, 24, whatever it is, like the decisions you make then affect your finances for the rest of your life,
Yes.
affect everything. So these younger women, these younger voters that could need to have choices, right?
Yeah.
It could need to, I mean, no, and again, I understand there's health repercussions for women of all ages. I get that. But what I'm saying is not only women of reproductive of age, of childbearing age, but particularly young women of childbearing age would be probably, I don't know, need to have the choice the most.
Yes.
It seems to me, maybe my logic is flawed there, but they should be the people who are the, most standing up for this and the most saying you can't take my rights away from me.
Well, the right's already been taken away. It's who's going to reinstate it. You know what I mean? And, and then there's.
And by the way, every time I say something like that, I get a million emails like, how could you not think it pertains to you as much as it pertains to anyone else? That's not what I'm saying. It pertains to
No.
all of us.
It pertains. And honestly, if you want to do dollars and cents, it matters to our economy. You know what I mean? Like it matters to our workforce. It matters to our employment. I mean, you take women out of the workforce because they get pregnant and this society just does not support women enough through not only, pregnancy, but, after they have their child.
Right.
I mean, if you want to just do it by dollars and cents, it doesn't make sense to not give women control of their body. Now, we have to throw worm eater himself, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., into the mix as well, because apparently he too is very, very confused about how he feels about abortion. So he has taken wildly different stances in like days apart. So he issued a lengthy statement last week saying, quote, abortion should be legal up until a certain number of weeks, until the point of fetal viability outside the womb.
Okay.
He says he only supports, quote unquote, gruesome third trimester abortions when needed to save the life of a mother, even though numerous incidents since the fall of Roe v. Wade show that supposed safeguard is ineffective. But then, just a couple of days earlier, he was on with former ESPN host Sage Steele, and he said he was against any government restrictions on the procedure, even if it is full term. And then he pushed back on Steele's claims that patients may terminate a pregnancy late into a term when there's drugs involved and people are thinking, repeatedly telling her it's important to trust women with decisions about their bodies. Now, this is what I think about RFK Jr. He's trying to play both fields. He's trying to say, well, I'm going to be on Sage Steele's podcast and I'm going to say one thing. And then I'll put out a lengthy statement of people who follow me and I'll put out something completely different. Like, just choose a lane, man. I know the brainworms are getting to you, but come on.
Yeah, could it be possible the worms ate too much gray matter?
Yes, pretty much.
And he just doesn't remember what he said when?
I mean, it was a couple of days apart. And just to let people know, just, little facts here. Abortions performed after 21 weeks are only 1% of abortions performed in the United States. Most are sought out because of their fetal abnormalities or it threatens the woman's health. Like, we're not talking about the vast majority of pregnancies that are done. So again, most people supported Roe v. Wade. Trump and that Supreme Court botched this.
What are your thoughts? Are you at a certain number of weeks, or are you just give women a blanket, carte blanche, do it whenever you want to do it?
I don't think that this is how I feel. The government does not make that decision easier.
Right.
There is no situation in which you can tell me that calling my local congressperson or my governor is making a decision to continue a pregnancy easier.
Yeah.
Why would it make it easier? Let me decide. You know who knows everything about my life, my finances, my family situation, whether I'm in a dangerous situation?
That would be me. You, Nikki.
Yeah. It's me. So, why would I ask for anybody else's besides my partner, if I have one, or my family, my doctor? The government should have no say. Yeah. Zero. And I don't know why anybody would disagree with that. I don't understand.
And there will be people that say, oh, you're for aborting a baby at 8.5 months then, Nikki?
That doesn't happen.
It doesn't happen.
It doesn't happen nonchalantly unless there's something fatally
wrong. First
wrong.
of all, if there was such a procedure that was elective,
right,
you can't take a baby out and then kill it.
No.
If a baby is viable and lives,
viable. Yeah,
then it's viable and it lives.
Exactly.
And I'm sure that people would celebrate this.
Absolutely.
Because the problem is when you get that far along, either they think it's going to be born and die a painful death, right?
Right.
Or you're going to croak and you've got other kids to take care of at home. There's something going on. Usually it's that the fetus is not viable.
Exactly.
And so there's no reason to go through and you're in danger as well.
But they use that as like this narrative that's happening, and it's not happening.
It's not true.
So every time somebody brings that up, I go, that's not happening. So I'm not going to, I'm not going to even engage with that line of reasoning because it's not happening unless in the most horrific situations possible. So in that case, still don't need the government's input, like at all. So zero restrictions.
I'm exactly with you. And I feel like I know I say it a lot. Keep your eyes on your own paper.
Exactly.
What some other lady decides to do is some other lady's business.
Exactly.
What you decide to do is yours, and what I decide to do is mine. Right. Look away.
Exactly.
And let her handle her health and I'll handle my health.
And that's the best way of doing it, Now, let's kind of keep it on the pregnancy tip. And I wanted to talk briefly about, and I think she's not everybody's, favorite person necessarily. Although I think she's not so in our face anymore that I think people's opinions about her have kind of waned a bit. But Paris Hilton, she was in the headlines recently. Obviously Mother's Day, everything happening. And she's out with a new book, a paperback version of her book, actually called Paris, the Memoir. And she explained that she's had not one but two children via surrogates. But she also said that she would put on a prosthetic baby bump while employing a surrogate because she wanted it to feel real. Now, I remember being pregnant. I never had the urge to make my husband, wear one of those prosthetics, although it would be nice for him to, you know, that feeling of I just want to put it down for a second. That feeling
Uh-huh.
of just like, oh my God, my back is killing. I want to just be able to roll over and not have this, gigantic weight on my chest. I get that. What do you think about her wearing the bump though? I mean,
It, I think it's really, if she wants to be, first of all, do we know why she
yes.
employed a surrogate?
So
Was
she
it a
shared
medical reason, or did she just not want to ruin her
no.
figure?
Okay. So she said that there's three reasons why she wanted to have a surrogate. One,
Okay.
she had experience, and this has also been documented in a documentary, that she was abused in high school at that Provo Canyon place in
Sure.
Utah for troubled teens. So
Right.
she was really kind of hesitant about seeking medical care that she would need during a pregnancy and childbirth. She was really, really scared. She,
Wait,
did
she was afraid to
IVF.
go to the doctor?
Yeah, so she has like some sort of trauma with doctors and things like
Okay.
that. And so she has like basically what it's come down to, she has a lot of PTSD with the medical industry in general. And
Okay.
so she didn't want to go through it with a pregnancy. And
Mm-hmm.
I'll say this. I I don't know. I don't think she really came out and said because I don't want to lose my figure. But I'm not knocking anybody that doesn't want to carry a baby but wants to have the baby. I mean, is there something wrong with that?
In my mind,
Yeah.
yes. I think so.
You
Yeah,
do.
I
So
do.
if you're like, I just don't want to carry a baby, I don't want to.
If you are fully capable,
Yes,
then why would you want to put someone else at risk? Because anytime someone gets pregnant, there's a risk,
of course. Well, they're willingly doing it.
right? They're doing it for money because they need the money, but why would you put their health at risk? And there's bonding, and there's your system being able to breastfeed your baby, having that match. I
Hmm.
like when when you've carried a child and it comes out of you, your breast milk is somehow biologically matched to your
Yes.
baby. Like there's all these things. I just feel like there's a bunch of stuff that's more important than your figure. I
Right.
don't
Well, that's
know,
not well. She didn't say
but
it was for a
whatever.
figure. She said the whole PTSD thing, but she did also say, when I
Hmm.
was in the Simple Life, I had to be in the room when a woman was giving birth, and it traumatized me.
It is a traumatizing event.
And she said she's scared. She said, I
Yeah.
want a family so bad. It's just the physical part of doing it. I'm just so scared. Childbirth and death are two things that scare me more than anything in the world. And so if
Hmm.
that's how she feels, and the surrogate was, well aware of it and whatever, and she's getting paid.
Whatever.
But putting the belly on and trying to make it feel real,
That's not
I'm sorry,
enough.
honey, you won't. When you get like
No.
Charlie horses in the middle of the night,
Right.
when you can't sleep, when it's just, it's not the
There
same.
was
But I also don't want to, I
one
don't know, talk
moment I
down to
was
her.
pregnant, and I was sitting on the couch, nothing was wrong, and
Uh-huh.
the next minute my arm from the shoulder down went numb with this
Oh,
stinging pain.
oh no.
No
Yeah.
idea. It lasted 2 days. Weird stuff
That
happens to your body
sucks.
when you're pregnant.
Exactly.
Nausea, back
Hmm.
pain. Like you can't just slap a belly on and think that's it.
Yeah, exactly. She said, as far as wearing the prosthetic, she said, I wanted to know what it felt like to be pregnant. So I bought a prosthetic stomach. I wore it around the house for the day. I know that sounds crazy, but I wanted it to feel real, even in just this small way.
Yeah.
Feeling that weight on the front of me, running my hands over it, envisioning a whole life in front of us. But at the end of the day, she realized it was silly to pretend when she was about to hold the baby in her arms.
Silly but
So,
sweet. That's
I mean,
sweet but silly, you
it's
know?
silly. It's not the same. I don't even think
Yeah.
putting it on your husband or your partner to try to experience it. And again, you don't get experience the joy of being pregnant either. The first
Yeah.
time it moves, you know what I mean? Like,
Totally.
trying to figure out what body part that is and all
Yeah.
those sorts of things. It's an amazing experience. And I'm honored that I was able to do it. You know
Me
what I
too.
mean? And I'm so blessed that I was able to do it because you're right, Kim, something magical happens
Mhm.
when you are pregnant with a child and
Yeah.
you birth that child and you raise it. I swear to God, Kim, I feel like, especially right up with my first one, it's like, telepathically. They just know. Like,
Yep.
I remember I would have the baby monitor on and I would open my eyes like to check if my daughter was sleeping. And I had to shut my eyes real quickly because I knew she could see me or sense that I was like, I'm like,
They
no,
know.
she knows. She knows I'm awake. I gotta go back to sleep or she'll wake up.
The first time I got kicked from Jacob, like
Yeah.
really he gave me a good kick, a nice big strong one.
Right.
I was at KGO and I was sitting, the desks faced each other. So if you were anchoring with someone,
Right.
they were right across from you as you were preparing to go on.
Yeah.
And I was sitting in the newsroom right across the desk from Peter Finch.
Oh,
And
hello, Peter.
I think I had a can next to me. Something was near my belly.
Okay.
And whatever happened, the kick was so hard that my body shifted and I smacked into it.
Oh, how
And I
funny.
was shocked because I'd never felt, Julian never kicked me that hard.
Oh, wow.
It was like my whole belly shifted. And he goes, what the hell just happened? I go, I think I just got a good swift kick.
There
He's
you
like,
go.
oh, Jacob for the win.
That is,
Really
that's
funny.
That's really funny because when I remember we didn't find out what we were having, right?
Yeah.
We didn't find out the sex of the baby until they were born. And so I remember we were sitting in this pancake place in Sacramento. So that's when I lived in Sacramento. And we were just going over names. And boy, if it's a boy, it's this. If it's a girl, it's this. And I remember like throwing out bunch names. And I was like, what about Marley? And she kicked. And I was like, done. I was like, well,
She likes it.
She kicked. And then and so that was her name. If she wasn't Marley, she was going to be Zayden James.
Oh, okay.
And it was also funny because when I got pregnant again, James, like my husband, said I couldn't use the boy name that we would have used for Marley because that was her alternative name.
Okay.
So I had to come up with a whole different one. Hence why my son did not have a name for like 2 days after he was born because he couldn't figure it out. So yeah, it was, it's just fun being pregnant. You know what I mean?
When I took my mom to Sonoma for breakfast on Mother's Day, we sat next to this couple and the woman was 9 months pregnant.
Oh.
And I think she said her due date was in 4 days, or she was either that or she was being induced in 4 days.
Okay.
So which would be today that she's having her baby.
Right.
And she was so pregnant and her ankles were swollen and it was her first baby.
Oh, jeez.
And I looked at my mom and I go, after like when she couldn't hear me, I'm like, you ever look at somebody who's pregnant like that and you think, girlfriend, you have no idea what's coming to you.
Exactly.
She has to go through the whole birth and the whole infancy. Like, I mean, no one can ever prepare you unless you go through it. And I'm looking at her and she's happy and she's, so excited.
Rested.
And everyone's saying congratulations to her. And,
Exactly.
And I did too. And it was wonderful. But then in the back of my mind, I'm like, get ready, honey. Here it comes.
Exactly. Yeah. And pregnancy is awesome and great. And I want to also, just to go back to what we were starting with, my whole position about Roe v. Wade has nothing to do with the joy of pregnancy and birth. It's just a major decision. And when the pregnancy is early enough, especially, which is when most abortions happen, it should 100% be up to the woman. When she finds out she's pregnant, she gets to decide. Because like you just said, Kim, there is a long road of being a parent. And I'm telling you, that baby stage, it lasts the longest, shortest time. It's an old saying in an old podcast, but it's the longest, shortest time. I see the videos of my kids and their tiny voices, and it goes by like that.
Yeah.
And then you just listen to them being sassy and tell you you're not cool anymore. And all those sorts of things.
We have 3 summers left.
Oh, stop with that summer thing. You're going to make me
3
cry.
summers left. 3 summers left with our
daughters.
girls.
With our daughters. Oh, don't put it that way. All right. Well, I'm going to make a summer bucket list.
Make it count.
I'm going to make a summer bucket list, and we got to make it count. Absolutely. All right. Well, make this show count by clicking the thumbs up button to show your support. We appreciate it. Make sure you are subscribed. Hit that bell, and please tell your friends. The Super Chat is always live, whether we are live or recorded, and we appreciate your help. But we do depend on you guys and your financial support to keep the show going. So if you like seeing the Nikki Maduro show, if you like the conversations that we have, please consider supporting us or bumping up your monthly donation through our Patreon. Just go to thenikkimadoroshow.com. The Patreon link is right there, and you can sign up and become an official Madorable if you are not already. And then PayPal is also another awesome choice. Go to paypal.com. hit that send button and put in the email address, thenikkimadoroshow@gmail.com. And then support our sponsor, Auntie Tabby's Island Flavors. She has a hibiscus hot sauce, a pineapple hot sauce, and a guava barbecue sauce. It's just going to take your barbecue, your summer barbecue to the next level. It's delicious. You can't find anything like this at your grocery store. So go to auntietabbys.com and use the coupon code NICKKIM or Nikki M, NIKKIM, and it gets you 10% off every single time you go to the website and order. So you keep getting it because you're going to want to get more bottles. All right. So we will talk to you guys tomorrow for our Friday show. We appreciate you guys being here. Thank you so much, and bye-bye.
Nikki, you're all so awesome. Miss Brown, like a beautiful blossom. You're all so the best. I really can't rest. You're all so awesome.
Wow. Okay.